Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Healthy Way Vibes Tuesday. Or today's Thursday talk show. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm John,
I am Cyrene.
and today we have a special guest on. His we call him Safari Arie. So he's actually going to be sharing with us his amazing bike journey that he started probably almost 10 months ago. 10 months ago, if that's correct. And he came all the way from East Coast of Canada, and he's down in, well, he's here in Vancouver now. So we're very lucky to have him on board, and he's going to share with us, his why he's doing this, what he's been experiencing, what he's seen, and also, he's been doing this for about 245 days now, and he's going to share with us kind of how many the world record that he might be getting, and where his trip is going to go, because he's actually very early in his trip. He's already covered 11,000 kilometers, but so he's going to share with us, and we're just going to bring him on board. Welcome, Arie, and thanks for joining us. I know you've been super busy with all these people, reaching out to you. You've created a huge following. You've inspired so many people. That's how I connected with you. I saw your story before you started late last year. So kind of, tell us a little bit more about you, and maybe how this ride came about.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's awesome to be here. So back in 2011, I did kind of my first and only bike ride through northern and western Canada, Alberta, up to Yellowknife and into BC, and heading south towards Vancouver. And anyways, during that ride, it was just such an amazing experience that I just one day just didn't even realize. I just sort of asked myself, like, how do I bring this to the next level? And at the time, it was a no-brainer. It was the Canadian Arctic to the bottom of Argentina. And so from the moment that I kind of spoke that into existence, that kind of became my reality. All my lifestyle choices, decisions revolved about, making this happen, this bike ride happen. Very early into my research, I decided that I would add a cross Canada tour to this particular ride. I mean, admittedly, there was a few, I call them U-turns, dead ends, scenic routes along the way, but I eventually kind of got my act together and was able to start November 12th, 2018.
You're you're literally 10 months into the ride.
Yeah, I took about a week off for Christmas and almost 2 months off for COVID 19. But yeah, I've been on the road. Those two scenarios aside, I've been on the road to about 245 days.
Right. Because I
Yeah.
remember when we first talked back late last year, is that you would have planned to arrive in Vancouver at the end of June, beginning of July, but because of the 2 months COVID, this is where your delay is now pushed.
Yeah, yes, I was somewhere. Yeah, I was probably not, but yeah, towards the end of the summer was when I was anticipating.
Mhm.
And yes, obviously did not take into account COVID, because obviously nobody did in their life. So that eliminated 2 months right there. The other thing is I ended up going very, very slowly, much slower than I actually anticipated, largely because of hosting. I had no expectation or anticipation, but I ended up having so many people invite me into their homes that kind of directed and prioritized my schedule. And at the same time, also just even with documenting, I spend a tremendous amount of time documenting with photo editing, blogging, and posting photos and this and that. And so that actually also takes up a lot of time. And so, yeah, I only just got into Vancouver just on Saturday evening past. And because of COVID, I actually had to bypass completely the Arctic. The Arctic is completely sealed up, so I never even got up there, and I'm still in September finally getting to Vancouver. I probably should have done the Arctic and be in San Diego under normal circumstances, but it's been amazing.
Cross the
So
Arctic Circle and just dip your toes in there and then come back. They would never
yes,
get to the
basically,
border.
yes,
So I
yes.
know that
Arie, how did this manifest for you? Like, how did you come up with this bike ride?
Well, it was just from the first bike ride. It was just such an amazing experience that I kind of just asked myself inside my head, like, how do I take this to the next level? From a challenging perspective, from just an overall experience. And it was just an instantaneous thought. Well, oh, Canadian Arctic to Argentina, it was like a no-brainer. And just, yeah, like I said, from that moment on, my entire life, the decisions, the lifestyles, whatever, it just revolved about, does this bring me one step closer? Yes or no? Like, for example, like I haven't driven a car in 10 years. I was a long haul truck driver for 6.5 years, but I have not driven a car for over 10 years, because is buying a car, insurance, repairs, gas, is that going to put money in my bank account to save for this ride? Or is it going to take money out of my bank account? Well, like that's a classic example. And so buying a car was not going to get me anywhere closer to this ride. So it wasn't an option.
Mm-hmm.
So decisions like that kind of deal.
You know, also, you're not just riding a bike. I don't know if you know Cyrene. He's carrying a trailer that has how much, what's the actual weight of your entire setup?
Well, my bike, my gear, and the trailer is about 170 pounds. During the winter, it was about 180 pounds. And that was mostly winter gear. And I actually thought, okay, well, at least in the spring, I'll eliminate a whole lot of weight. Turns out I didn't really eliminate a whole lot of weight. Like I got rid of all the winter gear, but now instead I replaced that winter gear with water, because I need at least about 4 liters of water kind of everywhere I go for the day. Well, water is very heavy. Food, because during the winter I realized I don't like cooking in the winter at all, or in the cold. So during the winter, all my meals were in restaurants. But now that, you know, as soon as I got back on the road in May, everything was now cooked. So now I carry my own food and then fuel kind of deal. So I ended up not really losing nearly as much weight as I thought. And that's the other thing is I do carry some other things that a lot of cyclists wouldn't bother, because most cyclists are only, 3 months, say, on the road or whatever during their summer. Like, for example, like kind of weird, but I mean, like I carry laundry detergent. Now I don't carry a lot. I just carry a container of laundry detergent because I got to do laundry. Now, usually most of my laundry is done in host homes, but here I'm at a hostel here in Vancouver. Well, I need a laundry detergent. I carry it because I can usually get some from my hosts to, keep my little bottle full, but that saves me money. And so, like that's an example of stuff that no other cyclist is going to carry laundry detergent,
Has there, because you basically started in the worst time of the year because it was winter.
Yeah.
What was some of the most, I guess, scary, I shouldn't say scary, but some of the things that were like a little bit challenging, a little bit difficult to kind of get through besides the code?
Yeah. I mean, well, there's definitely nothing scary. I mean, that's the thing. People would talk to me about things that, well, if I was doing this, I'd be worried about this, or I'd be worried about that or this. And the thing is like, I'm planning 50,000 kilometers through Central and South America. Like, I can't start making a list of things that I'm going to be fearful of. Like, I don't want to say like I'm fearless, like that's kind of ridiculous, but it's just, there's many ways. It's just, I don't have the luxury of being fearful of certain things, because it's just, I got 3 years of this, if you know what I mean. Probably obviously though, the cold was the biggest challenge, because now I had a lot of hosts and that gave me a warm bed, which I was not counting on. But, I slept in -13, -14, -18. The coldest was -23 Celsius. I did discover I don't sleep well in the cold. So I would pretty much toss and turn the whole night long, which doesn't make for great sleep. And it makes for kind of a long night, because it would just toss, turn. And every time I tossed and turned, it would wake me up. Most of my sleeping was kind of done from 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock kind of deal. So yeah, I discovered I don't sleep well in the cold.
Yeah.
And so that would have been.
Sorry, other than sleep, Arie, you mentioned, is there other ways that you prepared yourself mentally and physically for this trip?
Oh no, not at all. The truth of the matter is all of this whole ride actually became, I've been planning it for a very long time, but the fact that it actually started, and when it started, came up extremely suddenly. And at the time, I was, like I said, for the last 6.5 years leading up to the ride, I was a long haul truck driver, and I was working about 80 hours a week, crisscrossing America from Burlington, Ontario to California every 2 weeks. So I was working 80 hours a week. And so fast forward, even like I didn't do any training. Like my parents, they dropped me off at the ferry. We brought, like, I got a U-Haul trailer to put my bike and trailer and all my gear in so they could bring me to the ferry in North Sydney, Nova Scotia. I loaded my bike literally for the very first time, and I pushed it about 5 feet, and I went, oh crap. I just went, oh my goodness, I'm dead. This is way, 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 way too heavy. My parents were actually standing behind me with their phones, waving goodbye. They wanted to get a photo. Good luck on your first day of your 50,000 kilometer bike ride, crossing or biking through a Canadian winter. And I'm pushing my bike, and in my head, I'm going, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. I actually went into the terminal, and they gave me instructions that I had to follow this chain link fence through security and go into like lane 3. I pushed my bike the whole way. I wouldn't get on my bike. I actually pushed my bike on the ferry. I pushed my bike off the ferry because I was not prepared to have anybody see me on my bike, because I thought I'm going to get on my bike and I'm just going to fall right over, and that's it. Fast forward, I think it was about 2.5 weeks later, because I started November 12th. I actually got back to Nova Scotia December 3rd. So that day, getting back to the ferry, I pedaled 98 kilometers.
Good for you.
So I'm just saying, so like 2.5 weeks later, I was actually too scared to get on the bike in front of anyone, because that's how full it was. So when you ask about preparation or whatever, that's how prepared I was. I was so prepared, I was too scared to get on the bike in front of anybody. But like I said, 2.5 weeks later, 98 kilometers. And the day before, I think I was like 89 or something. Kilometers.
So how much?
But
how much are you averaging a day? Like, how much do you give yourself? Are you depending on other factors like the weather, lighting, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, see, that's the thing. Like I did do a couple 100-kilometer days in the winter. I actually did. My longest day in the history of my entire life was 141 kilometers. I went from Ottawa to Brockville, but I biked till like 2, 3 in the morning. But then when I got back on the road in Ontario, from Kingston, like after COVID, it was so hilly. Like it wasn't until I got to the most western part of Ontario, Fort Frances, did I finally break 100 kilometers again. And then through the prairies, I did a bunch of 100-kilometer days. BC has also been a bit of a challenge. Like I actually did 120 kilometers getting into Kamloops, which literally killed me. It killed me. But then, when I left Lillooet, BC, the hills, it's 20 kilometers out of that town. Oh my goodness, they're the worst I've ever done in my entire life. Like I only did like 45 or 60 kilometers. So a little bit, I don't really, some people, they have a starting point and an end destination even before they've left for the day. I don't. I just kind of go with the flow. I pedal what I can. I'm a bit of a late start, but then I'm a late finish. But then, who knows what happens between starting and ending, like who I run into, because I always prioritize connecting with people. And so, in Pemberton, that was the day I only did 45 kilometers, which was the craziest downhill I ever did. But I got to the McDonald's because someone had initially offered to potentially host me in Pemberton. So I was hanging out at McDonald's. Some older gentleman came up to me. We started talking. We talked like for 4 or 5 hours. In the meantime, the other guy had messaged me to say he couldn't. They had gone to Whistler and they weren't in town anymore or whatever. But I ended up talking to this guy for about 4 or 5 hours because he was thinking about doing a ride. He had this, he had his own story. And so we talked, and I was at McDonald's for 4 or 5 hours. And was my day wasted? No, absolutely not. But did I do a lot of kilometers? Oh, no, not at all.
So, Arie, when you started this journey, did you have like certain followers? And did you find that it made a difference when you start blogging and putting your videos out there, and how it's evolved?
Yeah, I mean, I did do a little bit of promotion prior to the ride on various Facebook bike groups. I was kind of interested and curious about potentially creating a bit of a following. One, just the challenge of seeing, by creating a following, you end up with all these different experiences and skills you develop. And I like to learn about these kinds of things, and I do like documenting. And so, yeah, I just wanted to see what, you know what I mean? Because everything in the world now is online. In fact, it's like, if it's not online, it probably never even happened, kind of deal. Yeah, it definitely made a difference. And then just even getting in, and yeah, because like that's the thing, for example, like in Atlantic Canada, especially Nova Scotia, I had like a record number of hosts. Well, the reason that was because in Atlantic Canada, like everybody, like they're either related in one way or another, or they know each other. And so I actually could not go anywhere in Nova Scotia, for example, without being recognized. I could not go anywhere. I mean, even if I was talking to someone who actually didn't know about me, as soon as like their friend walked by and said, "Hey, Joe, how would you like to go bike with this guy?" That Joe guy would look at me and go, "I saw you on Facebook." So, oh yeah, I couldn't go anywhere in Atlantic Canada without being recognized. And so when I'd wake up in the morning, there was always like a new message through Messenger that if you're coming through this town, there's a bed waiting for you. And then I'd get there, and then the next morning there'd be another message down the road. So definitely social media was a huge factor in just how this ride evolved, for sure.
If you did this 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, nobody would be following you.
Oh, yeah.
You just literally solo riding for 50,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
Other than a photo that you might, send home or write a letter, maybe an email. So you can get good
yes. Yeah.
So part of what you just mentioned with Cyrene and followers and stuff like that, because you've gone through this journey, I mean, you've met a lot of people.
Oh, yes.
You've met a lot of people. But how has COVID, because you are going through this while this is still happening, COVID is not over. You're still at the beginning of your bike ride, 11 kilometers. You've got 40,000 to go. And your trip is 3 years long, right? You're giving yourself 3 years to do this?
That's what I'm hoping to be able to do in 3 years. But at the rate I'm going, I'm probably longer.
Okay. And how has COVID kind of affected you, either positively or negatively, in terms of, because it sounds like you're still interacting with people, right?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. So I mean, I had to take 60 days off, basically, roughly 60 days off for COVID, which, that has an effect. So interestingly enough, I left, so I was in Kingston for COVID. And so I left Kingston, Ontario to get back on the road after they started lifting travel restrictions. 3 hours into my ride, I was taking a small break in a small town, and a local pulled up with his car. He saw my bike and trailer and this and that. And so we started talking. He was a cyclist, mostly road riding or trail riding. But, so we started talking, and, 15 minutes later, he handed me a $20 bill. And it's like, okay, so this, for me, it was like this positive reinforcement. Okay, it's okay to be back on the road. And then within hours, because I'd made an announcement that I'm going back on the road. So then shortly thereafter, I got a message from a gentleman in the Haliburton area that messaged me, "Hey, well, when you come through Haliburton, stop by. There's a place to set your tent up. You can have a shower. You can do your laundry." So right away, wow, so once again, an invite right away. Now, am I having the same amount of hosts that I had in Atlantic Canada? No, but that's the thing is from Ontario all the way across, Canada is very spread out. You know what I mean? So even if there's not even that many people between, you know what I mean? But that being said, I've still had a tremendous, I had hosts. So I went to a friend in North Bay. Then I had hosts in Thunder Bay. I had hosts in Fort Francis. I had hosts in Winnipeg. I had hosts in CFB Shiloh. I had hosts in Regina. And so I've had hosts all the way through. Now, that being said, I've had some people, because a lot of the situation was people had reached out way back before COVID and said, "Hey, when you come through this town, there's a place waiting for you." But now we go through COVID. Have I had a few people say, not really hosting anybody right now? Yes, I have. Actually, Regina was a classic example. The lady was actually excited to see me, but then she messaged me the next day. So my husband is a little bit nervous about hosting because she actually had MS and she had this immune issue, so COVID she was actually still willing to host me, even with this immunity issue or this immune health issue, but it was her husband who was nervous. Right. But then, and I was like, "Oh, for sure. Of course. I get it. You don't have to even explain." But then the crazy thing was, like 3 hours later, someone from Regina just, because she was from South Butte, so someone from Regina, they're like, "Are you in Regina?" And I said, No, I'm not for a few days. And she's like, "Well, do you need anything?" I said, "Well, does that include hosting?" And like, absolutely. So I had a new host within hours of this one canceling kind of deal. So in many ways, like as far as the hosting, it really has not interfered in the grand scheme of things. I still have had tons of hosts. Now, probably the biggest aspect for COVID as far as the ride goes is I initially was headed to the Arctic, and the Arctic is completely sealed up, closed up. That is just simply not an option. So I've had to adjust my route, simply just the Arctic side of things, just because that territory is completely closed up. Now, I'm in Vancouver right now. The plan is to continue south through the US, and there's obviously the border is closed.
Exactly.
Now, that being said, someone has told me that I can probably still bike across. I don't know if that's true. I haven't had a chance to look at that. Basically, my backup plan is that if by the time I'm actually ready to leave Vancouver, because I still have some time here, I'm going to go to Vancouver Island, finish my Canadian route in Victoria. So I'm still about 2, maybe 3 weeks away from that. Mm-hmm. So if things are still closed up, which likely they will be, then I'll simply fly. I'll fly from Vancouver to Seattle, because that's the one thing that we actually can do is we can fly. Mm-hmm. So inconvenient for sure, because bike and trailer, 170 pounds worth of gear, I don't want to box that up for like a 20-minute flight, but it is what it is, kind of deal. So yeah, so I mean, it's not like COVID has not had an effect, but in the grand scheme of things, in many ways it hasn't, because any of my issues I have been able to fairly easily overcome. Mm-hmm. I mean, washrooms historically have been a little bit closed. I can't do my blogging in Tim Hortons anymore because, well, for a long time the restaurants were closed. Mm-hmm. Now, yes, they're open again, but they don't want you actually sitting there for any amount of time. But then once again, the hosts, I've had some amazing hosts, and I'm able to spend some extra time there, getting caught up on the hosting, on the blogging side of things. Yeah. So, in the grand scheme of things, that's the beautiful thing about being on the ride, is that while the world is going crazy, I'm just pedaling my bike. And then at the same time, I'm able to continue to share all these amazing experiences with my audience, who, part of the day they're watching the news, like freaking out, like the world's about to end. And then they're seeing my photos of, life's pretty good here,
they're seeing, like, exactly, they're seeing everything on the media, they're reading papers, they're listening to the radio, and then they see this guy who's going through it,
yeah,
with still safety, but he's still living life.
Yes.
And enjoying what you love to do, and of course inspiring people along the way. Because I definitely been following you since the beginning, and I haven't replied to all your posts because sometimes I know you do a lot and then you don't do anything. You do a lot, but and it's good that it's almost like, it's kind of weird how things have kind of fit into the pieces of the puzzle, because you've had bike issues, but you found bike shops that were open.
Oh yeah. No, and hosting while I've had bike issues. That's the thing, is even all the. I mean, like that. This is the crazy thing, is since the day I bought this bike, June 5th of last year, I bought the bike June 5th. I can honestly say 99.9% of everything, my life, the ride, has gone as smoothly as you can possibly expect. Like everything. Like, that's crazy to be able to say that since that point, everything has gone perfectly planned. I mean, yes, I'm sorry?
During this time, during what's happening.
Oh yeah. No, like everything. I mean, yeah, even if I've had a bike issue, the solution has been amazing. Like in the sense of like Fort Francis, I had my rear hub, my rear hub failed on me, and Fort Francis, Ontario is in the middle of nowhere. And by the time, and they called Kenora and Thunder Bay and reduced business hours and closed for Canada Day, I was actually stuck in this little town for an entire week. I had a roof over my head the whole time. You know what I mean? Which is crazy, because if I didn't have that roof over my head, my bike was in the shop in pieces. Like, I would have had to sit in a tent for like a whole week. Like, I mean, how do I move my stuff without a bike? You know what I mean? In a small town that's basically closed up. I had a roof over my head. So yeah, even when I've had minor issues as far as the breakdowns or whatever, the solution has always provided itself, and the solution has always been unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, someone's watching over you, right? For
Oh,
sure.
big time,
But
big time.
so the other thing too is, our show is called The Healthy Way Vibes, and part of the reason, we cover a lot of topics. We cover things on, like Cyrene knows, we covered things on, mental health, nutrition, exercising, sleeping. Last week we did how to take care of your feet. On Tuesday, how to have healthy feet, because we walk on them all day, and once they have problems,
Sure.
but for yourself, I mean, we've heard so much about your journey prior to starting the ride, during the ride, and then now, continuing on south of the border. Um, to me, it's kind of like a healthy journey. It's like a new journey for you because, even though, you may not, like, you're exercising, you're burning a lot of calories, and you're riding, so you're getting the exercise. But
Sure.
the healthy aspect of it is you're giving people hope, right? You're giving people you're inspiring people, you're meeting people along the way who are seeing that life can continue because you're doing this amazing ride without having to be worried about being like, you can just tell people are hosting you, they're not worried about you bringing something.
No.
So
Yeah.
and then you're not worried about them as well. So that the facade that
Yes. Yeah, because if something happens to me, I'm in trouble. Like,
yeah.
how do I self-isolate? You know what I mean? Like, I'm in big trouble if something happens in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
It's kind of been you didn't intend for your trip to get so much popularity, but because of that, people are kind of watching you along the way. And if you do get in trouble, I think people are reaching out to you or asking you, hey, do you need something or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
That's kind of good. Yeah.
wonderful.
So let's hope that this continues down south, and because we always think we're going to be safe, and we're going to be you're going to be doing the best you can to make sure you're in a safe environment, not put you into anything that's going to be kind of not controversial, but anything that could be sketchy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's continue to hope that Arie stays safe. But
So up till now, Arie, is there any favorite moments or that stick out into your head from this time you started your journey? Moments or places or
You know what? It's
stories?
interesting. It's, you know what? That's the amazing thing, is that every aspect, every province of this ride has actually been amazing. Like, even for example, like, most people, when you think Manitoba or Saskatchewan, I mean, I did most of my driving in the US, but I mean, I came out this way a good half dozen times, and I probably did Winnipeg and Calgary and Edmonton probably about 20, 30 times in the truck kind of deal. And I mean, I drove it, in the winter, the Trans-Canada Highway, and, there's just, you even think like Manitoba, Saskatchewan, not a whole lot to look forward to, not a whole, most cyclists, they just want to get through as quickly as they can, and even those provinces, I had actually amazing experiences. Like, I can reflect on every single province and really, like, just, I have amazing stories from every province. I mean, PEI and Nova Scotia, they really caused this ride to evolve into what it is. They if it wasn't for those people, this ride would not have been what it is and what it was. And, but then the experiences just continued into Ontario, and and Ontario had its, like, and that's the thing, every province has had its challenges, which, like, are good, like good challenges.
mm-hmm.
And then every province has had, like, amazing experiences where I can reflect on particular hosts, and it's like, I'll never forget those experiences. Like, they say between 200 and 300 people cycle across Canada every year, which is typically a summer thing, between, if it's a student, between going back to university, or if it's an adult, like, they get X amount of summer holiday vacation that they can, and they typically kind of like fly through because they're on somewhat of a schedule. And I've had no schedule. Like I said, I'm 245-ish days plus since I started. And I mean, I've had like 48 hosts as of Kamloops, and I'm still got more riding to do in Canada, like as far as Vancouver Island. So there's still a few more hosts along the way. I'm convinced I've had the very best, the quote unquote, the very best bike ride across Canada. because I mean, if you go to my website and I have a section where I have my hosts and the people I've met along the way, and if you just, it shows the 3 most recent, but if you click more, it just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. There's just amazing stories all the way through, from Newfoundland all the way to Vancouver. And so I can't make a best, because it's just not possible. It's just not possible, which is crazy, because how can you be on the road for 245 days and not pick a best experience? Because it's impossible, because I've just had so many. Like, it's mind blowing. It really is mind blowing.
I think John and I see a book coming up, don't we?
A lot. I get that a lot. A lot of people talk about like a book.
You're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to do 3 chapters. There's 3 books. You're gonna have to do North America, like north of the border,
Yes.
south of the border, and then really south of the border.
I would probably have to do a book just on Canada for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we got a couple more minutes to go, but what do you hope that this ride does? I mean, it's obviously giving you a lot of, inner, growth, inner healing, exploration. So you yourself have seen so much and experienced so much, but what do you hope with you doing this for outside of people who are watching you?
Well, what I have sort of realized along the ride is because of how amazing this experience has been, that is in part just because I'm trying to think of how to articulate it. Most people come up with this dream or this goal. Like, for example, I want to walk 100 miles. Okay. The problem is you actually got to go 10 times or 100 times. Like, if you have this dream of, okay, I want to walk 100 miles, I want to bike 1,000 miles, you actually have, like, you really need to consider going 10 times. Like, instead of walking 100 miles, walk 1,000 miles. If you want to bike 1,000, bike 10,000 miles. It's not about having everything in life be quote unquote epic. It's kind of a weird word, but nothing epic happens on your couch.
That's true.
I've noticed that, like, you really have to go so far above and beyond what you actually think you're capable of. And if you just make that the goal and you just actually go with it, as Nike says, just do it. If you just do it, it's when you get beyond what you think you're capable of, beyond what you think or what other people would actually think is capable. That's where there's a transition, where all of a sudden opportunities open up, experiences, like, that's when things really change. That's when things really, and so I like personal growth. You talk about, the subject matters about healthy lifestyle and this and that. And so part of a healthy lifestyle, part of healthy living is growing as a person, and being mindful of that and making that a priority. And so by making this crazy goal and this dream, which is in many ways insurmountable and most people could never even think about or dream about, but by actually challenging and engaging myself and actually going for it, that's where when you get to that point, that's where the real change starts to happen. And so I think that's, for me, it's just, wherever this leads or doesn't lead, my life is going to, obviously, and it has completely changed. And that, and it's getting back to nothing epic happens on the couch. Your life is not likely going to change if you're on the couch, but if you go out there in a big, big, big way, you're definitely setting yourself up for some huge change in your world, in your life. And so whatever that means, I don't know, because I'm not done. You know what I mean? But the hope is that, and I'm seeing this on a daily basis, that, who I was before, who I am today, and the experiences, like I said, I'm convinced that I'm doing the very best bike ride that has ever been done across Canada. And that's only because, and that, that's partially because ultimately because I started in the winter, which is crazy and nobody would think about doing, and nobody, you know what I mean? But by putting it out there and doing it, here I am today. Like, it didn't kill me, and I was pretty sure. A lot of people said, well, I was going to die for sure. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, how can I die just by biking in the winter? You know what I mean? So I just, yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks so much. I mean, we could probably talk for hours more, and
I know. I'm just like caught on each and every word that you're saying. It's so inspirational for me.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like a movie unfolding. We're on volume 1, and Arie's going to be going on volume 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So thanks, Arie. I know you're busy. I know that. Thank you so much for taking the time to.
Oh, absolutely.
You're on a 3-year vacation. You made time for us, so we really appreciate it. We're a little bit short today. We don't have a few people on our team joining us, but we'll be back to normal hopefully next week. But again, thanks, Arie. And so anybody, so right now we're recording this. So unfortunately, there was a technical difficulty. We didn't push this live, so we will put this on a pre-recording soon. And but to follow Arie, we're going to put up all his details on the YouTube page, on our web page, and then also on our Facebook page. So look out for that and tune into this, because and then follow him because his journey is just starting. That's amazing. So any last words?
Sorry, what is your web page, or where can I follow you at?
Yeah, so the website is, go ahead, sorry. Arie?
The website is safariarie.ca. My name is spelled A-R-I-E, but if you just Google Safari Arie, everything should come up. But yeah, safariarie.ca. And I'm very active on Facebook, Safari Arie on a bike. And then I also have a YouTube channel, Safari Arie.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah,
so those are the 3 main ones, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have all those details on each of our, when we push this video, we'll put it all up for everyone out there to watch this, and also again tune into him, because I can't imagine, like when I saw him like 12 months ago now, it's like, wow, that, like, the wow is even more wow now, because you hear of someone doing it or wanting to do it is different than he's a quarter through or a fifth, right? And then now,
actually a fifth.
And he's just starting. Literally, this is his warm-up, right? So thanks again, Arie.
It was awesome
for joining us. One other thing I want to point out is that we are on our way to our 28-day healthy challenge, which is 28 days of healthy living, healthy lifestyle choices. And you can register on our healthywayvibes.com website, and join. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of people who are going to be supporting you, recipes, exercise tips, and just kind of a good culture that you can follow along and have the support that you need to get you onto your healthy lifestyle, whatever that may be, whether it's losing a little bit of weight, making some habit changes, or just getting out there and enjoying life and doing what Arie's doing, just explore the world and getting some fitness in there.
And just getting off your couch.
Yeah, just, what's that thing? Nothing epic happens on your couch. That is going to be, that's going to go on your,
we love that.
Yeah, that's your bumper sticker. The book, you get a bumper sticker.
T-shirt. T-shirt coming.
Yeah. Well, thanks. So thanks everyone for joining in, and we'll see you next Tuesday. We'll release so Tuesday's going to be chakra health. Thursday we don't have that subject up yet, so we'll post that as soon as we know. But Tuesday will be chakra health. And thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.